Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo, ready, set, go.
All right, guys, welcome to the Off the Bench podcast. I have the one and only Shawn Meaike here with me today. What's up, buddy?
What's on, dude? How are you?
I am excellent. How are you?
Could not be any better, man. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
Crank it up, Frank. I can't hear it. Dude, I love that. I'm sorry. That gets me pumped up.
It does.
That gets me pumped up.
Man, it's honestly a blessing to have you here today. I don't think
it's an honor to be here, bro.
Everybody gets so excited when you're around. It's like, and I've known you for going on 11 years now, and I still get like there's nobody that gets me moving the way you do, and it's crazy because before I met you, I'd be like, that's weird if you would follow that guy. It's just kind of weak to me. But you work so hard since I've known you that it's like, how do you not follow somebody that's running so fast? You know what I mean? So it's been a big day for everybody here, but we're so excited to have you here. You change lives every day, and I'm forever grateful for you, what you've done for me and my family. I got my son sitting here. It doesn't get any better than this.
Well, I mean, I think we're all running together kind of deal, and I'm yeah, if you've not done a podcast with Frank and his son, it's an adventure just getting everything set up. I love this. Red lights on. Move it over here. It's time to go. I'm not starting over again. I was like, I'm going to unplug the lights if you don't move. So it's an entertaining time with you guys.
That's right.
Here. Frankie, we I think that we started 8 years ago, and obviously you and I have known each other longer than that. And we were in business together previously. I mean, not together on the same team or whatever you want to call it, but we were in business together. And I just wanted to see, I wanted to win, but I wanted to see everybody else win.
Sure.
And I think that was and I think for me, people are totally cool with, I am, like listening to what other people have to say if it can benefit them. And as long as the person's not like an egotistical, like just ass.
Right.
And I don't know how to put it, but like nobody likes that person. Nobody, so I was like you. I'm like, when somebody tells me I need to follow them or tells me how good they are, I tune them out, and I think for me, I'd take myself out in the parking lot and beat myself up by acting that way. I just would. It's just really too much. So I'm just, honored to be in business with you and your family, and I'm very happy for you and, the integrity partnership, because we, I couldn't ever fathom that we would have had this opportunity to do this. I mean, this
right.
was, we had an idea of how to get started. We didn't have any kind of end game for anybody. We started in December of 2013. It was just, let's put people in a better position, let them go win.
And we were winning. Like, nobody was complaining, by the way.
Well, they weren't complaining to you.
Well, I wasn't complaining.
That's the thing with you. You don't complain. And I think that's a big part of why you've won. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think that I got no problem. My thing was always, if you have an idea, if you have a problem and you have a solution, let's talk about it. That was always what I said, right, from day one. Like,
right.
Dude, I'm totally in. If you have something you don't like and you have a solution for me, let's talk. Like, let's totally have a discussion. But if you're just telling me how messed up something is and you don't have a solution, now you're complaining. I mean, I think that's, and I'm the Georgia's won the national championship, and the thing that struck me that coach said, Kirby Smart said, is he said, we burnt the boats and we come to fight.
Yeah,
and
that's
like,
strong.
That's like what we did. Like, and it's not, it was like, dude, we ain't got no money. We ain't got nothing to lose. It really don't matter, but you sure as hell believe we came to fight, and I think that's you can't do that on your own. But when you look at people that are standing next to you and you realize you got people that are fighting for their families too, it's hard to win that battle. And, it's funny because the thing with FFL was the first 3 years, people said a lot of stuff about us that wasn't true. He's always joking around. He'd be like, dude, they say a lot of stuff about it. And one guy's like, does that piss you off? I go, yeah, and some of it's not even true.
Right.
Some of it is, but like some of it's not even true. That makes it even worse. But one of the things that people said about us that was probably honestly the most accurate, and I mean this, and I'm not saying it pridefully, but was that the people that were competing with us at the time, and they don't compete with us anymore, we're 10, 12, 15, 20 times larger than they are. But they said, he won't make it financially. He'll run out of money, like the first 3 years. And, they said it's just the spread isn't right. They basically just said it's a business model that's destined
right.
to fail. And, while I, had this whole like, kind of don't worry about it. We're going to make it. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. Dude, it was really tight financially, and because we had to put everything back in. That's the thing about a business. Like we had all the expenses, corporate, and you guys, there's things that we kind of worked on together, but for the most part, we had all these expenses, and you get excited. You're like, well, the first convention was only annual convention was 140 people there, and it was terrible. I'm like, yeah, it cost me like $7,000. This last year cost me $7 million with 7 events.
Right.
And this year it'll be 4 to 5 with one event, because when you host at Loan Depot Stadium, it ain't like the Marriott conference room for 140 people.
Right.
But I mean, it's all relative, right? You just always had to kind of go, all right, this happened. We still need to do it. I think that was a big thing for us too. People said, why don't you just charge for the convention? Like, we understand why you didn't charge early on, because there weren't many people, but nobody would care. And I'm like, but I would care because I said we'd never do it.
Yep.
Like, that's the thing for me. Like, I would care because I said we'll never do it. Like, we're never going to lower comp. We're never going to change renewals. We're never going to require a contract. We're never going to charge for training. That was our big deal when we looked to partner. The struggle with partnering with somebody was unequivocally, I knew that the wrong partner would go, all right, cool, here's some money and capital to build your business, but we want to change this and this and this. The first thing we want to change and make more money, they always want to make more money, right? Like, let's lower comp, let's stop paying for this, let's charge for convention. So that was the thing about integrity. I was like, we have to be able to run the business. You know what I mean? I'm not good at a lot, but I'm good at this. I know how to do it. Like, let me do it. Just like, let me do it, and I'll keep doing it. And also that all the guys and girls that build the business here, it's their business. They own it. It's their entity, and they own 100% of it. Like, let them, do the same thing we're doing.
Sure.
And they sure as heck did.
Yeah,
and
they did.
Proof. I mean, and I think that's the thing for people is really, what's really cool is to see, how life-changing it is for people. Money was never the thing for me. I always said this, and I've said this to my kids a lot. I said, I and us, we were hard to compete with, but me personally, I didn't care about the money. And I don't. I'm not broke, but it does not motivate me. It doesn't get me excited. Yeah, some nice stuff to get, cool. And it's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. But, dude, it's not what does it for me. So for the first 3 years, I was happy.
Right.
I was broke, but I was happy. Like, I'm happy now. Now, would I take not being broke and doing this over being broke and doing it? Yes. Maybe I'm slightly happier, but I was still happy, Well,
so. I said that on the call yesterday with Brian. Like, when you say something, you could take it to the grave. Like, you would rather die than go back on your word. And it's funny, I have people that tell me I'm crazy for being in business without a contract. Especially, I guess when you're making a little bit of money, it's really not that big of a deal. But then when you start to become successful, people are like, well, you ought to get something in writing. I'm like, I have it in writing. It's not on paper, but it's there, and I don't need it in writing. That's how you've always done it. I think I've watched you, and you've changed so much, which is cool. So, and then we had the Founders Day thing, and you were pretty fired up, and I'm Dom and I were looking at each other like, God, yes, you know what I mean. I think that you're right, and you've taught me so much. One of the things you taught me is I can't talk to people the same way. The way I like to get coached isn't the way a lot of people like to get coached, or the way I think is not the way everybody thinks. So you got to stop that stuff. But a lot of us like that and need it, and so we were excited when you went off and started getting all fired up, because it lights that fire under people. I think people get very comfortable and complacent easy, and so I was going to ask you about that too, because what I'm seeing now, in the beginning we didn't have a choice. You're right, we had no choice but to run.
Correct.
First 3 years, everything that was going on, no leads, one carrier, and then even in year 4, 5, 6, 7, like we just continued to grind. But now it's the system's so good, people are getting there really fast. How are you seeing people deal with not taking their foot off the gas? Because I can imagine it's got to be a little bit difficult for some people.
Yeah. Again, for me, it always comes back to, why did you want to do this?
Right.
And I think that's a part for me. I think listen, and I'm not judging anybody. You can be motivated by whatever you want to be motivated by. But if it's only money, and you're making enough money now, or more than you ever thought you'd make, I don't know what to. My concern for people is, in this business, you need to keep working. I mean, we've been open 8 years. It's not like we've been open for 40.
Right.
I mean, like, my deal was like, hey, man, you've been here like 5 years. Can you put in 10, like, before you retire? Like, most people work 50 years. Like, can you put in 10? And, but I think once you get to know people that you're in business with and you get to, I mean, like, Frank, what would I say? I'd be like, all right, Frankie and Tina, Elena, and your wife. And, I mean, like, I'm going to tell your daughter and your sons and, like, well, I got mine. Like, that's how I'd feel. Like, so I went and got something that was pretty good for my family. And, well, okay, cool. I mean, I just couldn't imagine, you know, and listen, people, I don't know. I don't judge. I'll discern how I feel about things. I'm a human being, but I just let people go. People tell me crazy stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like, I'm not judging. Because
Sure.
the book says I'm not supposed to. We'll all be judged. I'll be judged for things I've done and not done, and so will you, but it won't be by each other. And, you know, I think for me, I'm seeing a lot of people that we're in business with who don't want to let other people down. And I'm seeing them working harder. And I think also, you know, Andrew Taylor says to me pretty well when he came out of the field. And he's like, he was coming out of the field, which I didn't think he needed to come out of the field yet. I'm like, dude, you're going to be bored out of your mind. Like, you're going to, it's hard for people when they're not working. Even people like, you know, whether it's a mom or dad, right? Like, when Jamie's always worked in the business.
Yeah.
So she's always worked with you. But could you imagine if you had just said, hey, and that's your business, if you had said, hey, I don't want you to work in the business at all. I just want you to stay home. That would have been an adjustment for her.
Sure.
Because, you know, now Tino's younger, you got stuff going on, but all of a sudden, like, my man's in 6th, 7th grade.
Right.
He leaves for school in the morning. He comes back in the afternoon. He has buddies to hang out with. And before you know it, she's like, I need to have some feel. I'm
Purpose.
accomplishing. I need a purpose. And I think for us, when you lose that purpose, I think that it doesn't mean you work until the day you die. But for the love of God, can you put in 10 years? And here you can put in a couple of strong years and have an unbelievable result. But your deal with integrity is like, okay, you got your deal. Boom. And now immediately it switches to, how do I get file? How do I get all these other people, right? And that's the deal. How do I help them get to where they want to go? Because celebrating alone is lonely.
No doubt.
You know, it's lonely. I went to Super Bowl years ago with my son, and it was the Broncos and the Panthers. And the Peyton Manning was quarterback for the Broncos, and they had come out and they were warming up. If you've ever been to Super Bowl, it's like a long day event if you go early enough. They open real early. There's a lot of stuff. And then Cam Newton was quarterback for the Panthers, and he come out in gold cleats and a cape, like a Superman cape. It's like whatever. And that's not what struck me. What struck me was nobody came out with him. So it was like all the guys are out with Peyton Manning. They're warming up. And, dude, Peyton Manning, probably, no offense, couldn't throw the ball 30 yards at that point.
Right.
I watched the game. And he had a whole crew around him. They were working out, receivers, tight ends, whatever, everybody doing. A couple coaches, and Cam was just taking like a victory lap. And that's cool. He's definitely a good player, no doubt about it. And I called my buddy, and I said, hey, dude, I want to put $10,000 on the Broncos, money line. And he's like, you're at the game. Why? I go, that's weird. I don't know, probably stupid, but I just don't even worry about it. And I'll never forget that. I was just like, and I said to my son afterwards, I was like, I just, you know, and if you remember the game, not that it matters. I mean, me and I, like, he likes Broncos. I like Broncos. But Cam had a terrible game, you know. And who am I? I'm just dude in the stands drinking a Diet Coke and eating a hot dog. I mean, I don't, you know. But I just, you know, I always wanted to be in the fight with people. And I don't think you're better than me, Frankie, and I'm not better than you. But I don't think I'm better than you, so I don't think you're better than me. You know what I mean? You might be better at something than I am and vice versa. Sure. But as a human being, you're just a human being, dude. Like, just like me. You know, and I think when you're great at something, I don't think you need to tell anybody you're great. You know, it's that Walter Payton used to say, when you're good, tell people you're good. They'll tell you if you're great or not. And I just think that, you know, that whole taking your foot off the gas, I think when you forget to think about other people, you know, and it's only about you, you know, it is hard to make sacrifices. It is. It's hard to make sacrifices. You know, you and I used to talk about coaching all the time. And I was like, dude, I just could never find the time to do some of the things I wanted to do. And maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't have. It's worked out, but, you know, and you can lose sight of things along the way. But I don't want to let anybody down.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want to, please don't take this the wrong way, but, like, this isn't really work. I mean, like, what we're doing right now is work. Like, we're sitting in a studio, and we're like, he's got a fan on, and like we have heat because it's like whatever, and like we're comfortable, and I got Diet Mountain Dew and strawberry water. Like, dude, we're not digging holes for 16, 18 hours a day. We're not like Ryan and Thaddeus where, you know, we're walking into God knows what, hoping that we don't get shot at. I mean, that's a job, you know, midnight shift, double shifts for what they make. I mean, dude, that's a job, you know. I mean, digging holes all day long, pouring concrete, roofing houses, going into a prison as a correction officer all day long.
Right.
A buddy of mine told me, I said, dude, you're retiring? He's like, dude, I spent 30 years in prison. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I spent 30 years in prison. I worked double shifts all the time. I could come and go within reason as I please, but I was in the same exact environment as people incarcerated for 30 years. When he said it to me, I was like, I never thought about it that way. He's like, it's just powerful. So I think we have a lot. And that was what our Founders Day was about. Like, guys, we have people that are trying to get where you are. And, you know, you need to help them. I mean, again, we've been in business 8 years. Like, let's slow down.
Right.
Like, I mean, I get it. God forbid you're in your 40s. Can you keep working? I mean, like, please. And again, what we do, once you build your business, you can do it from anywhere you want with your phone. So that's the other thing it's just about answering your phone. That's the thing that kind of got me. Like, dude, it's literally, you can do all of it through email, phone, text message. Like, you don't need to, we're not saying to be sitting somewhere 80 hours a week.
Right.
So what are you doing anyway that's so unbelievably special as opposed to helping people get there? So, but to your other point, Frankie, you have to know your people that you work with. You know, you, Dom, a bunch of you guys are unique. You know, you can yell. As long as I respect you, you can yell and scream, get me pumped up. You can challenge me and stuff. If I don't respect you, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to. I'm going to tell you, I'm asked you once nicely to stop once. You know what I mean? Because I don't respect you. You know, I don't want you to, because I don't think you really care about me. But if I think you genuinely care about me doing well, then I'm cool with it. Because I think you genuinely want to see me do good.
Sure.
And I think that we see a lot of people at this point in time. Also, so I think a lot of us overplay our hands. I think people are pretty cool with you being direct with them. However, you know, you can be pick and choose how direct you're going to be at times. But you still got to tell them everything they need to hear. But you also make sure that they trust you and believe in you.
Right. You've always had that. I mean, I'll never forget you calling me and going, dude, why can't I do this on my own? I was thinking you were talking about, like, you were getting separated at the time, and I'm like, it would get easier maybe with time. And you're like, no, dude, my own IMO. I think I'm going to do that. I'm like, I'm in. Like, it was, and, you know, Jamie and I worked together. I didn't even talk. I was in. Like, yeah. I don't care what I was in. If she wanted to stay where, like, I was in, and then the whole world followed you because I think they saw that in you. It's what's so unbelievably unique is you could have easily done your deal with integrity and probably gotten paid a hell of a lot more money. Like, honest. I mean, we're not stupid. Mm-hmm. Like, we get the deal. You could have been worth 100 times more than what you're worth now if you wanted the whole kit and caboodle. So, dude, the respect is just, it's great. And I love doing this for the guys that we have. I know what it feels like to watch somebody buy a new car or get to take their kids somewhere that they couldn't do before Family First. I can only imagine what it feels like to watch somebody get an integrity deal. Yeah, I mean, it's but you know what's funny about, I remember that, and I asked you, and I asked you, I asked Mark, I actually asked Andrew, I didn't know him that well, Mike, you know, a number of people, Shawn, and I really wanted to know if you believed I could. Weird, right? Like, but I remember that. Like, I wasn't trying to figure out what you were going to do. Like, I was just like, but why can't I do it? Like, I'm just like, I didn't like what was going on. I didn't like what was happening. I didn't like, I do remember you saying that too. Like, getting separated. I'm like, already separated. You know what I mean? And, like, life, it is what it is, dude. That's, you know, and, but it really struck, like, I wanted to hear from you guys if you believed I could do it. You know, that was kind of my test. Like, why can't I? And because I was trying to come up with reasons as to why I couldn't. And I was like, I'm willing to work hard. I'm smart enough to do it. I've seen these other people. I'm definitely smarter than they are. So, like, why can't I just do it? Like, what would preclude me from doing it? And what was really cool and felt good for me is they, you know, everybody I talked to was like, yeah, dude, like, why couldn't you? Like, I don't see why you couldn't. I have no doubt you could. And I was like, all right, well, if you have no doubt I can, and you have no doubt I can, you have no doubt. And it was but I was like, I'm going to have to, like, go find the contract, do the deal, and also be responsible for everything. Like, I know that.
You know what I mean? Deal with the brunt of everything that comes with it, which I was fine with. But it was like people that I respected said, yeah, why not? And by the way, I'm with you. I was like, okay, now it's a game changer. Now you're with me. Okay, got it. You know, I think that changes everything.
Dude, that was fun. Like, it was fun. It was a fun time. Learned a whole bunch.
Yeah.
You know, and watching everybody grow and go through that stuff, it builds. I always tell people, like, the hardest times in this business is what's built our character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I could have done it without those experiences. I wouldn't have learned anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you'd have handed me an agency doing $500,000 a month, they'd be gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'd have ran them off. So all that stuff goes a long way. Do you remember being at, so, and I've always thought you could sell. Like, I've known you could sell. I watched your numbers there. They were always number one. Watch how hard you work. Do you remember us being in the room? We talked about this, but you were running a meeting, and it was summertime. It was hot as hell.
Mm-hmm.
The lights went out.
You
were in the middle. Yeah, we were in Ohio. That was the night we had no money, and we all wound up getting one bedroom or one hotel room. But you didn't skip a beat. Like, the lights went out, and people were like, and you just kept going.
Correct.
And then eventually everybody was just like, okay, he's not going to stop. He just kept going. That was the moment I realized, like, dude, there's really nothing that phases. And it wasn't that big of a deal, but in that setting, I think about how most other people would have handled that, and it wasn't how you handled it. I'm like, yeah, he's good. And the whole room just followed your composure. Same thing with COVID. Same thing with the lawsuit. So, like, have you always been that? What do you read books? Like, where did it come from? Who taught you? Is it just, is that God's gift to you?
My mother was a Sunday school teacher and very, very, very involved in the church. And, you know, we went, when I was young, it was like non-negotiable. You know, my parents split. I had football on the weekends, would, you know, go there on the weekends sometimes. So I kind of fell out of touch with that. Got back involved in it. But, dude, like, if you read the book, it doesn't tell you anywhere to act like a crybaby punk because something small happens. I'm a big perspective person, you know. So, like, you're doing a meeting, there's a couple hundred people in there, and the lights go out. So what? And then people started using their cell phones, turn them on, their little flashlight thing. Who cares? Like, but at the end of the day, I think for me, I only want to be fazed by things that it would make sense to be fazed by, you know. And I think that what makes me nervous, if I live my life being fazed by things that aren't that important, I'll never get anything accomplished, and I'll never help anybody understand that. I think that's the biggest problem for most independent contractors is they don't have the perspective, you know, on, like, okay, that happened, but is it really warrant this response? Like, okay, so that happened, and I think that's where people get caught up, and that's how broke people think. Like, that's, now on the flip side, my mom introduced me to the church, but my mother and everybody she knew, like, they would tell you why you couldn't do everything. Not bad people. They just were broke.
Right.
They're broke. Like, I can remember when I told my mother, and I love my mom, but I was a big boy when I was like 14, 15. Like, I just, you know, stayed with my buddies, went off. I mean, like, I didn't, but I can remember telling her I quit my job at the state of Connecticut that I'd been at for like 14 years. And she wouldn't tell me what to do because I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I probably stopped listening when I was 14.
Sure.
Not because I didn't respect the hell out of her. I'd listen if it was something about like my grandma, but if it was about what I was going to do with my life, I was just kind of like, I love you, but I'm looking around and I want more out of my life. She's an unbelievable person, but I want more out of my life financially than is here. I don't want to get rich. I was trying to get rich. I just didn't want to be broke. And so, but I remember told her I quit the state. She literally was just like, are you okay? And I can't, first thing she said, are you drinking again? That was the first question she asked me. And I was like, no, I'm not. And then she's like, I just don't understand, Shawn. Be careful. And, you know, it's not as easy, you know, if it was so easy, everybody would do it. And And I just was very nice. I love my mom. I just gave her a hug and I was like, I'll be all right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we'll be good. And, you know, and it's funny because when I quit the state, they said you can have a year to make a decision to come back. And I was like, all right. And then I said, do I have to agree to anything? And they're like, no, it just automatically comes with it. I was like, okay, there ain't no way I'm exercising that option, but okay. And you know, it's funny. I never one time thought, man, thank God I have a year.
Sure.
Now they paid me with overtime like $90,000, which was a good job for me. I mean, that was my social work degree. That was a really good job. And I did enjoy it, you know, but but I worked, way too many hours. And the reality really is I probably wouldn't had quit there earlier had they not like changed the administration, started doing things I didn't think was good for kids.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm out. It was really, I wasn't out because I want to get rich. I was just out. And then I found I was already doing real estate. And then I found life insurance. And
well, now you do exactly what you were doing back then. You're dealing with people's mindsets, getting them to do the right things, but you don't have to see all the nastiness and the corrupt, or the bad that people do to the children, which is unbelievably sickening anyway. So, dude, I mean, again, I can't thank you enough. This has been a great 8 years. I can't wait till the next. I'm fine. Hey, you remember you were starting a company? I was like, hey, can I be a partner? And you were like, I'm not doing any partners. It never works out. But you'll be my guy. So now I'm finally your partner, bro. It only took 8 years.
You know what's funny is I remember that too. I remember a lot, and you weren't the only one.
I'm sure.
I mean? And it wasn't. And to be really honest with you, Frankie, first year, I don't know that you want. I mean, it's all worked out for all of us better that we didn't. That didn't. You know what I mean? Like, you believe me, you want 100% of your business as opposed to a percentage of FFLs. You did a lot better than you would have had it been the other way around. But also, like, this will sound really weird, but I was sure that I would work as hard as I could.
Mm-hmm.
I was sure I would do everything in my power to do whatever I could, but I wasn't 100% sure because that everything would just work out.
Right.
So I'm like, I had no problem if I crashed and burned. I just don't want anybody else to crash and burn. It sounds, and you guys were making more money
you're
than
that
me
guy.
in the first 3 years anyway. I was like, you guys made more money than we did. As far as Nat, I mean, it was like what we had coming in, we were just pouring it out.
All right, stop for that because I need people to understand something. So when I don't know how many people bugged you about comp when you started. I didn't. Mm-hmm. Whatever you said, I said, okay. Yep. Right? Because I always, and again, I said this to Josh earlier. I said, dude, I think the difference in my relationship with you and my relationship with Shawn is I might not always agreed with Shawn, and sometimes I hung up the phone and cussed him out. He didn't hear it, but I was pissed. But I never took that to Jamie, and I never talked bad about you because I knew what you were saying was for me.
Right.
So I always knew that with you, and that never was an issue. But when you gave me my comp, I was good. We got served. You called me and go, did you get your papers? I was like, yeah, I got them. You were like, I'm going to give you a 10-point raise.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to do that. Then a legal bill starts coming. You picked up more than you had to. Like, people don't realize what you've sacrificed for us. I don't know if they do. I do. I get it. Like, I owe you, and I say it, and I know it makes you uncomfortable. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But dude, without what you've done for us, I wouldn't be sitting here. My kids wouldn't have what they have. Jamie wouldn't have what she has. But people really need to understand what type of guy you are and what type of leader you are, because I know it couldn't have been easy. I don't get the numbers twisted. I'm sure it was tough because I was in a smaller situation. I've tried to help out, but I know when I help out people, sometimes it's tough. Mm-hmm. So, dude, I mean, I think people owe you the world, and if they ever don't trust you, send them my way. I'll shake some sense into them. I can promise you that.
Dude, it's all good, and I think that's part of what I've learned is just not to be emotional about it. Just do the best you can on a daily basis with everybody, and it kind of is going to be what it's going to be. But, I memean, when I telling people it was taking us 3-4 years to make a profit, it did. I mean, we had money coming in, but everything went out.
Yeah.
I was making what I was making in the state. I was making 80, 85 grand a year. It was fine. We were not saving any money. I remember a guy one day was like, I need you to meet with my financial guy. I was like, okay. And I just didn't even think about it. And, I'm working, and this dude shows up in my office 2 weeks later, and, nice suit. And I'm like, so we're 3.5 years in the business. And he's like, well, so-and-so referred me over. And I said, listen, bro, I don't want to burst your bubble, but I am probably liquid $4,000. So I don't know how good you are at investments and in the market, but I don't even know if I have the 4Gs. That's even discretionary. I think I might need it for something else. So, bro, you're going to have to I'm not mad at you. I don't have any. And if I didn't want to work with you and I had money, I would just tell you. I don't,
Right.
And I think that, but it was weird. It wasn't like never ever free. It was just let's just keep doing the right thing. It's going to work itself out. You just keep doing the right thing. It's going to work itself out. You just keep doing the right thing. It's going to work itself out. So, hey, you need some help. Boom, here's your raise. Hey, I need this. Here, boom, let's do this. Here, the legal bill comes in. Boom, let's pay this. We screw something up, and you're like, you can go ask so-and-so for money. I'm like, no, we're not going to do that. you know. And even when we got done with all that, there was another couple $100,000 that was owed, and I was like, I'm just gonna pay it, you know, like, can I get a payment plan? And that, which we did. I was like, can I just pay it every however many months? And they said yes, and I don't know, dude. I think that, and I think we have a lot of people that I do believe are thinking that way with their teams, and they should, and that's how it grows.
Yeah.
I mean, and when you give of yourself, your time, your money, your emotions, you give and it hurts, it works, and it hurt for the first however many years, and you know, if anybody complained, which some people did, I was like, you know, about what they're not making. They're making, you know, $700,000 a year. I was like, okay, come on and stay at my house, bro. You know what I mean? Like, it's 2 bedrooms.
That was
tiny.
back in the days when we did stay at each other's houses.
Yeah, man,
you know what
we
I mean?
did. Yeah, I spent many days on that couch in your old townhouse there. No doubt about it. So
It is what it is. Hey, it all worked out, man, and
No
I wouldn't change it for the world. I tell people, I wouldn't change a thing that went on here. Everything that's happened has happened for a reason. It's brought us to where we're at today. So
no doubt.
big part of that. I love you, bro.
Appreciate it. Love you too, man. Thanks, buddy.
All right, guys. Thanks for hopping on. Shawn, thank you so much. Until next time, make it a big week.